As 2023 campaigns begin today, 18 candidate wants Buhari job. Good morning and welcome to the Dailies on Echo Television International. I'm your host, Sarah Elisha Dasham, and my co-host is Rachel Tanzi. Good morning, Leisha.
Good morning, Sarah.
Hope you're doing great this morning.
I'm doing fine.
Okay, we're live on Facebook and also on YouTube. Do well to drop your comment, and at 9:30, we shall open the phone lines where you can be actively involved with the conversation happening live here in the studio. And we'll start with the first paper, which is the Daily Trust newspaper.
On the Daily Trust newspaper, still on campaigns, Atiku, Tinubu, Kwankwaso, Obi, and 14 others battle for 84 million votes. You can read all of that on page 15. Reps fume over abandoned 797 billion naira Abuja Kaduna Kano Road project. No state authorized to buy automatic weapons. Presidency reprised Akere Dulo. And the big story on the Daily Trust, despite Buhari's assurances, 23 Kaduna train passengers spent 6 months in captivity. President should redeem pledge. This is coming from the victim's family, and how the remaining captives can be rescued. This is coming from the ex-AIG, and you can read that on page 6. And there's a picture story of the president meeting with the family of the kidnapped victims in August. And on the downside of the paper, CBN raises interest rate to record 15.5% in 20 years. You can read that report on page 27. How my successors, other leaders will emerge in 2023. This is coming from Buhari. APC, PDP, others yet to submit 2019 election expenses report. This is coming from the INEC, and you can read that on page 34. 2023 dead, 116,000 displaced in Benue flood. You can read that report on page 12, and that's all the news on Daily Trust.
On Leadership newspaper, UB record 50 deaths from 1,000 cholera cases. Access to Information Day, editors urge government to expand democratic space. Still on Leadership newspaper, we have inflation. CBN gives bank 48 hours to meet the 32.5% CRR. And you can read all of that story on page 7 of the Leadership newspaper. Senate rejects power rotation bill, increases number of appeal court judges. As 2023 campaigns begin today, 18 candidates want Buhari's job. We can see a picture of some of the candidates. We have Tinubu, Atiku, Obi, Kwankwaso, Adebayo, we have Sowore, we have Abiola, we have Al-Mustafa. And we have some points at the issue. Presently, the first one is President Muhammadu Buhari to return to Daura come May 29. APC cancel flags off of campaign indefinitely, may go overboard funding cancel. The 13, PDP, Labour Party, NMPP and others sweet talk 96.3 million voters. And the fourth point here, Nigeria still grapples with security, economic, infrastructure challenges. And I think these are the 4 points at the heart of the issue as this campaign flags off today. So these are some of the things that Nigerians were looking forward to and seeing what all these candidates have to bring to the table. Still in 2023, court notifies Aleros PDP senatorial tickets. Flood kills 53, injures 74, displaces 248,665 persons in Adamawa and Benue. No state has approval to buy weapons. This is coming from the presidency. You can read that on page 6 of the Leadership newspaper. And that's all on the Leadership.
On the New Telegraph, FG borrowed 1 trillion naira to fund petrol subsidy. This is coming from DMO. Says debt stock within tolerable limit. NPR, OPS fret over high rate of loan repayment defaults. You can read all of that on page 5. Bill seeking power rotation suffers setback in Senate. More of that in pages 3 and 5. I've not moved away from Wike says Autumn, and you can read that on pages 3 and 5. Judge sentences ex-Ogun official Rufai to 5 years for $5 million pandemic fraud in U.S. Still on terrorism, US-Nigeria collaborate on chemical biological weapons. More of that on page 2 and 4. And the big story on the New Telegraph, still on the 2023 election, the polls is saying insecurity economy on front burner as campaign begins today. And the writer for that story, parties replace 1,435 nominated candidates. This is coming from INEC. I remain shortcut to Igbo presidency. Atiku tells Southeast PDP leaders. Labour Party calls for demilitarization of political space. APC presidential campaign council postpones activities indefinitely, and you can read all of that on pages 2, 3, 5, 9 and 10. And there's a picture story with PDP and their presidential candidate. And on the right side of the paper, CBN releases 9 trillion naira to sustain economy. And still on the presidential election, 2 parties breach spending limit squandered 7.9 billion naira. This is coming from INEC. And APC PDP yet to submit 2019 financial report, and you can read all of that on page 4. And that's all the news on New Telegraph.
On the Guardian newspaper, the big story: economy in rare credit squeeze as CBN continues with 20-year high interest. We have the MPR raises to 15.5%, highest in 20 years. CBN to debit commercial banks to effect new CRR Thursday. And we have Adori increased create opportunities for federal government to mop up local funds. Job losses to worsen, expert warns. Nigerians lament soaring food prices. Address supply side shocks to check inflation. And all of that story can be found on the Guardian newspaper. Federal government gets the hashtag NSAS report 2 years after promises implementation. And court orders INEC to publish names of candidates in Edo governor's faction. Wike brings back legacy 600 aircraft abandoned in Germany. And stop inducing dividing Christians, Northern elders advise APC and Tinubu. We have picture stories here. You can do well to read more of that. And we have court notifies Ogun PDP governorship KB Central Senatorial District primaries with detail found on page 4. And on 2023 elections, how Nigerian politicians deceive electorate by Peter Obi. And you can read most of the story on page 4 also. And that's all on the Guardian newspaper.
On the Matrix newspaper, Fani Kayode attacks Obi over comment that only Christians are affected by ASU strike. Wike returns to Nigeria, receives Rivers aircraft abandoned in Germany. Improved revenue, prioritizing expenditure will reduce government. No state has approval to automatic weapons. This is coming from the presidency. And the big story on the Matrix, still on the 2023 election, the battle gets underway as campaign finally begins. And the writer for that story, thrills of 3-horse race between Tinubu, Atiku and Obi. Stakeholders call for issue-based campaign, urge candidates to shun hate speech. And on the downside of the paper, Lagos take delivery of coaches from US for metro rail line. To arrest inflation, CBN raises interest rate to 15.5%. Yoruba group accuses Adebanjo of embarking on a campaign of calumny against Tinubu. International friendlies, Algeria beat injury. And that's all the news on the Matrix.
On the Point newspaper, we have the big picture here that said Atiku promises Igbo presidency in 2031. Don't consider tribe religion during 2023 polls. This is coming from the Labour Party candidate Obi. Autumn denies breaking ties with Wiki. And looking at this, comment coming from the PDP presidential candidate promising Igbo presidency, I clearly and vividly remember when the APC during the present administration promises the Igbo presidency come 2023, and that was how things kept, they turned and turned and turned, and then there was no zoning, and we saw that the Igbo actually were not given the opportunity, or possibly there was no zoning of any way. And then the PDP did the same thing, and the people said that especially the Igbos clearly stated the fact that they actually thought that the civil war ended, but it is obvious it has not ended from the way things are looking, because they are still marginalized and being sidelined. And I think this is part of what Wike has been, advocating for, not for his own personal interest, but I think for the people of that region, that they actually have the right to also be represented, whether as a presidential candidate or as a chairman. It shouldn't just be about one particular zone, because if we have various zones that are in Nigeria, it will only be right that they will be represented in the election. But see, coming from the PDP candidate saying that you're promising them presidency come 2031, that means after 8 years automatically. Why not promise them in the next 4 years and say maybe after 110 I'll step down for them to also be there? But the way things are looking, that the moment somebody is vying for a position, he's already calculating 2 terms straight, and you have not even seen if Nigerians are going to be satisfied with what you have to offer. Possibly he's actually very, very confident and sure that what he's bringing to the table is what Nigerians are looking forward to. But we can see the issues that are coming up, not just on insecurity, but also economic challenges. We saw what the World Bank are saying yesterday, that the way they are looking at Nigeria, it's uncertain about the way our economy is going. We're still looking at the hike in food prices, transportation, not even look at the power sector, is still going through lots of issues. Education is still going there. We are wondering what is happening at our educational sector. Transport, we're seeing lots of crashes, potholes left, right, and center. So you can see there are a lot of things that really all these candidates in the various parties really need to address. So I hope that they are really aware of what is happening in the nation. So it's not just about saying that, just like we heard during the ASU strike, when the Minister of Education said he was not aware when ASU started the strike. But I hope that they will be aware of what is happening, and that they will be ready to actually address these issues immediately they get into office come 2023.
The only thing I would like to say is that the more these politicians open their mouth to speak, the more you realize that you can't trust them. Whatever they say, until they do it before you believe that, okay, this person is a man of his word concerning promising the Igbo and stuff like that. 8 years gone and it's now time again, and you're still telling them in another 8 years time. Why not now? What is wrong with now? What happened to the moment now? Give it to them now. You can't keep promising them 8 years, and times keep going, and you're still promising them. What happened to now? So the more they keep making these promises, you just realize that these people don't keep to their promises. And whether we like it or not, we can see that even affecting our growth as a country, because they will give us all sorts of promises, and when they come, they don't even do 1/3 of what they've promised us. It's the same thing. You're giving them promises of position, and their region is being neglected, and another election have come. Simply give these people, you're still promising them 8 years. What happened to now? This is what we keep seeing playing out in our country, promises that never come to pass. So the more these people talk, you just realize that, can we even trust them? Are we not just gambling our lives and risking our lives on people that don't even keep to simple regioning of or zoning politically and all of that? So yeah, they don't keep to their word, and this
we can't be so certain about that presently right now. So all we have to do is keep our fingers crossed. But one thing I am sure is the fact that as campaigns start today, Nigerians know who they want to vote at the end of the day. So all we have to do is keep advocating. If you have registered, go get your PVC and just do the right thing, and be very, very careful. Do not sell your vote for any penny that at the end of the day posterity will actually hold you accountable for at the end of the day. Let's look at the other stories still on the Point newspaper. We have CBN hike rate to the highest level to head off inflation. And we have a news jubilation in Ogun. PDP court bars INEC from recognizing Adebutu's friction. Senate passes bill to increase justice of court appeal from 90 to 110. And we have police arrest 3 drug peddlers in Lagos with shocker chase. So you can actually read on any of the story that's of interest to you from the Point newspaper.
On the Daily Sun newspaper, more cracks in APC over campaign cancel. Key party leaders agree maintain distance from PCC. Still on PDP crisis, I won't abandon Wike. This is coming from Autumn. And still on the presidency, my victory will be stepping stone for Southeast, says Atiku. And there's a big picture story and still on the campaign, and this is from the PDP, Atiku Okowa, for Nigeria for a growing economy, and we just hope that that will be achievable in this country when you probably emerge as the president of the country. And that's all the news on Daily Sun.
On First newspaper, we have the PAP Idomo's appointment raises fresh expectations in Niger Delta. And on PDP crisis, Wike and I still together, says Autumn, the governor of Benue State. And we have U.S. court jails Ogun Governor X8 5 years over $350,000 fraud. And on the AK-47 Buhaha, we have federal government undo governor coalition costs as presidency Akeredolu disagree on arming of Amoteku. We are going ahead to buy the arms. This is coming from Ondo governor. And we have no state is authorized to procure arms, presidency wants. Then I think they have to give us reasons how comes those in Castina are actually bearing arms. We need to see who actually gave them, authorized them to actually carry arms around. But just like we've said, it's not just about giving them the arms, but it's to be sure that they will be able to control themselves in using these arms. We'll not have a situation where because of anger, somebody just, uses the arm on his brother or sister or anything of that sort. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed more concerning the story from the Ondo government and also from the presidency, and see if finally they'll be giving the authorization to bear arms at the end of the day.
And as you keep saying, Sarah, it's all about making sure that whoever is handling that arm is capable. And I'll say it's simple. The government just have to make policies that this state police must follow. If it means them making their training the same standard with the military and the police and putting up a body that will follow through and see through that, yes, these people are following this standard, they should go about doing that. Because if one state can have, why shouldn't another state have? What was the policy or what was the terms and condition given to that other state that they met it, that you feel this state cannot meet to it? I feel that's just what should be done to avoid this back and forth. Yes, these people have to be capable of holding this gun. Then you put in a body that will make sure or ensure that these things are followed the right way.
Of course. Well, still on the First newspaper, we have in 2023, new poll places Peter Obi ahead Tinubu and Atiku with 51%. That's 18 political parties kick off campaigns today. Soldiers, police presumed dead as gunmen attack army checkpoint in Enugu State. And FCTA demolishes 500 homes, including churches, in Zunnan. CBN raises interest rate to 15.5% to tame the rising inflation. And you have to read more of that on the First News. Cardinals all PDP primary election in Ogun State. And Atiku to Indibo, if elected, Southeast will govern Nigeria after me. And from the sports, we have Mikel retires from football at age 35 years. So for sport lovers, you can grab the paper and read more about the retirement of Mikel. And we have suspended Lagos monarch jail 15 years for faking own kidnap. It's really a ridiculous one. You can read more of that too. Stop attacking our peace-loving supporters. Labour Party wants APC. And NDLEA burns 194 billion naira worth codeine found in Lagos warehouse. And that's all on the first newspaper.
On the Nigerian Standard, INEC warns against abusive language as campaign starts. Laity Council decries failure in Nigeria's leadership. Policeman dies saving neighbor's daughter. Male students protest government school separation policy. And the big story on the Nigeria Standard, religious leader urges politicians to be cautious. And there's a picture story, the chairman and co-chairman, NIREC and other members of the council in a group photograph after their meeting on Monday at the Continental Hotel Victoria Island, Lagos State, hosted by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State. Forensic technology to be deployed for 2023 election. This is coming from the Inspector General of the Police, and I pray that that will come to pass because we need to keep improving and developing technologically. We need to go digital in everything we have to do, and even our science of doing things have to improve. So if forensic technology can be deployed in 2023, then it's going to be a plus for the police. And on the downside of the paper, Afenifere throws weight behind Obi, Omotekun corps to bear arms, Akeredolu. And that's all the news on the Nigeria Standard.
On the Blueprint newspaper, Presidency to Akeredolu, no state has approval for automatic weapons. On 2023 campaigns, which is a big story, PDP Sean Wike Makinde Upezu inaugurates 520-member PCC today. The writer following the story, APC suspend kick-off to accommodate other interests. My priority is to reunify, improve security, restructure Nigeria, coming from Atiku. Says I'm the stepping stone to Igbo presidency. Create level playing field, Labour Party tells governors and others. An ADC presidential candidate in Dume begins rally in Kogi October 6, with detail on page 5. And on electoral offences bill will be ready for 2023 polls. This is coming from the Senate. Screen 19 INEC rec and passes the bill to increase appeal court justice from 90 to 110. Why I can't abandon Wiki. This is coming from Autumn. Want to know why he said that? You can grab the blueprint and check that story up. And troop rescued 3 children and 4 others in Kaduna communities. Lagos monarch bags 15-year imprisonment for faking own kidnap. And we have reps demand tax detail of NNPC, JVs, PSCs from 1919 to date. NGE to the federal government, access to information crucial, expand democratic space. And court sacks Alero, ex-Senate leader Yahaya as PDP senatorial candidate. Zenith access and order makes it big from foreign operations. And the last story here, CBN tightens nose on bank, raises rate to 20-year high for 15.5% with detail found on page 23. And that's all on the Blueprint newspaper.
On the Voice of Liberty, inflation, CBN raises benchmark interest rate to 15.5%, highest in 20 years. NDLEA destroys cocaine worth 195 billion naira seized in Lagos warehouse. Still on the PDP crisis, Otom denies abandoning Wike for IU. And the big story on the Voice of Liberty, still on the 2023 election, APC capitulates to governors, suspends inauguration of presidential campaign council. Still on the Voice of Liberty, This is from Stereo Loan. My husband has PhD in staging coups, so nobody can outthrow him, says president's wife. And I would like to say, wow, what a thing to brag on. War against crude oil theft. Tampola gunboats storm Niger Delta creeks with over 1,000 youths as Marine Guard. And on the downside of the paper, two feared killed at IPOB gunmen attack Enugu military checkpoint. DSS arrests soldiers supplying guns to kidnappers in Abuja. And still on the Kaduna twin terror attack victims countdown, we're counting down 183 days in captivity, and we are still praying that the presidency and the Federation of Nigeria as a whole, plus the Kaduna government, are doing something that these people will be free at last one day very soon. And that's all the news on Voice of Liberty.
You know, this story really got my mind when DSS arrested soldiers supplying guns to kidnappers in Abuja. I'm really excited about the moves the DSS are making. They have really recorded lots of success this year, especially coming through the last quarter of 2022. Yes. And I think this is the right step in the right direction that we keep having for those who actually, you know, abusing the uniform of the Nigerian force, that they are brought to book if they are found doing anything illegal. Because this really is sad one. I mean, the reputation of the Nigerian army will really be insulted, us hearing the fact that some soldiers are actually involved in that. And I think I also have to call on the government not to actually, you know, give a reason why this is done, but I think the welfare of this security agency really needs to be looked into. Not just the army, but even the police and every other uniform person, uniform man or woman, their welfare have to be checked into, because we saw where we saw there, and one of the papers where they say ex-servicemen were actually protesting for their, you know, their pensions and whatever their allowances that are supposed to be given to them. So I think I have to call on the government to actually really check into the welfare of the servicemen, because when you don't check into their welfare, they get tempted to do some other things that are illegal. I remember during the kidnap of one of the Anglican prelates, he said that those that kidnapped him, among them there were some uniformed men that were involved in that. So that is there that nothing happened without us having an insider. And no wonder when there's an operation that is being launched, before our army gets there, there's an ambush that kills them. Why? Because somebody somewhere is a snitch that actually. I just hope that those that are involved, those that are spoiling this uniform, will actually be brought to book, will actually face the full wrath of the law at the end of the day, because nobody is above the law. If you're involved in that, I hope that the, you know, the law will get up with you, the rule of law will take its place at the end of the day. Well, at this moment, we'd like to take a break where we can open the phone lines for our callers. So do well to call us after this break. Do not go anywhere. Welcome back. It's still the Dailies, and we've been looking at various paper stories actually trending on our papers this morning. Campaign starting today, and the comment coming from the PDP candidate saying that he is the stepping stone for the Igbo presidency come 2031. So we really love to hear, what do you feel about most of this statements coming from all the presidential candidates? And also APC have suspended their campaign activities to actually accommodate other interests, and also to pacify some aggrieved, you know, governors and others that feel very bitter concerning things that are happening. So we really love to hear from you. Call us on our official, you know, numbers that are displayed on your screen, and you can also drop your comment on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Let's take a look at the Business Day newspaper. Pension for mortgage seen as massive. That is the big story here. And we have still the campaign picture of the PDP candidate, which you can do well to grab the Business Day newspaper and read the pension for mortgage seen as massive, because I think it's a story that everyone that is interested in the business world should take a look at. And that is all on the Business Day newspaper. Okay, sorry, we have a caller. Hello, Emmanuel. Good morning. Hello, Emmanuel. If you can hear me, please go on.
The fact is that you see the yeah, I am already speaking. I know the logic about this your station very well. You see, the presidency of Nigeria to decide. You understand? They are giving arms to their own people in the north, and now they want to stop the south and east not to have arms. Already, Obasanjo have already said it that you, Buhari, you've already divided country. So let it come, like it or not. Already there are arms around. So let him bear it in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manuel, for that
Thank
contribution. And let's go to the next paper, Rachel.
On the Punch newspaper, businesses face crash crunch for stealing 20,000 identities, Ogun rigged. You can read more of that story on pages 4 and 5. And the big story on the Punch is still on the 2023 election. Atiku and governors land in Abuja. Tinubu and Obi delays campaign. Police put personnel on alert. IG INEC chairman to address presidential candidates.
Hello, Mr. Man. Innocent, good morning. Please go on. We can phone so that you can actually call us back again. Newspaper, Senate trips CBN Governor Board Political Office as amendment of CBN Act skills second reading. Big story, insecurity. No state has approval for automatic weapons. This is coming from the presidency. Calls for restraint of speech during political season. On 2023 still, Buhari assures unfettered freedom of speech, rumbles political discourse. And the MPC interest rate hike will attract forex inflow, ease inflation pressure. This is coming from experts, and you can read that story on page 2. And that is all on the Daily Times newspaper.
On the Nation newspaper, suspended Ogun governors aid Rufai jailed for 5 years. Atiku, I'll be stepping stone for Igbo president. Federal government borrows 1 trillion naira to fund subsidy, says DMO. Still on oil theft, Tom Polo's gunboat stormed Niger Delta Creek, and you can read that on page 2. All 18 presidential candidates face allegations, says INEC. Still on the presidency to Akeredolu, no state can arm security outfit. Caution against politicization of security. COD nullifies Ogun PDP governorship primary.
Sorry, Rachel, we have another caller. Hello, Ima.
Article promising people presidency come 2021. Why is it not now? Why is it not allowed people to contest now? Yeah? Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I think that's a question that everybody's asking, Richard, and we actually need the answers. And we ask the same question, but we're just keeping our fingers crossed, and we hope that Nigerians actually know what they want. Exactly. Whether you were given the Igbos the presidency come 2031, that lies in the hands of Nigerians and not in any candidate. So the ball is in our hands to do what we think is right at this moment.
Still on the Nation newspaper, the big story, Nigerians face harder times as CBN raises interest rate. And the writer for that story, Emefiele, hike from 14% to 15.5% to contain rising inflation. Experts false policy. And on the downside of the paper, Lagos takes delivery of trains for Red Line rail system, and there's a picture story which, if you want to know more about that, you can get the Nation newspaper and turn to page 5. Akeredolu moms for burial November 12th. NDLE sets ablaze 18 tons of cocaine, and you can read that on page 2. And that's the news on the Nation newspaper.
You know, this big story have appeared on most of our papers this morning. Nigerians face hard at times as CBN, raises their interest rate. And we know this is part of the thing that we see whenever there's inflation.
Yes.
The rate of when you borrow, the interest involved in that is really, really very, very, unbelievable. And we can see definitely this will affect Nigerians, because for somebody that is hoping to get a loan to maybe go into dry season farming, or to get a loan to actually pay school fees, or to get a loan for something, we can see that they have increased the interest rate. And that means very few Nigerians will be able to afford that. Take a look at food costs, transportation, and all that. And I hope that they really go back to check the policy. We can see here that experts are faulting the policy involved in increasing this interest rate when it comes to whatever money or whatever it is you get. So I hope that the CBN will go back and actually check the policies. At the end of the day, who benefits from it? Because it will affect the common man whether we like it or not, because we definitely need this little soft loans left, right, and center to actually start up something. Take a look at small and medium scale enterprises that are springing up. How would they be able to survive with such an interest rate when that interest rate is being increased? So I hope that it's not the CBN will actually look at the policy, because whatever policy CBN have actually said, other banks will actually take up from there at the end of the day. So you could imagine, no wonder you just put a little money and then just to recharge your phone or just to pay some bills, and you could see the interest that is involved with that, the tax, the VAT that is attached to such. So I hope that CBN will actually reconsider and go back and actually check all of this interest rate that they are fixed at the end of the day.
And let's not forget that this is the CBN's rate. As you mentioned, other commercial banks are not giving out loans in interest of 15.5%. It has never been like that. If the CBN is at 15.5, you should be in and all of that. So this is the CBN's rate, but not commercial bank rate. It's always different. And as you said, it like small scale businesses always suffer because nobody goes to CBN directly to get loans for businesses. It's always the commercial banks. And this is not the interest rate you get from the commercial bank. This is the CBN's interest rate, but the commercial bank interest rate is always different.
Of course, so I hope that they look into that. Well, let's look at this day newspaper still in relation to that. In aggressive bid to tame inflation, CBN raises the MPR to 15.5%. Hikes the CRR to 32.5% to check currency speculation, orders bank to make adjustment. And we have an MFA, we have 19 trillion naira injected into economy in 3 years. Says no assurance on monetary ease yet, promises additional intervention in aviation. That is coming from the CBN governor. And you can read more of that story on page 12 of this day newspaper. An article is saying, my government will restructure Nigeria's square separatist agitations. Well, we keep our fingers crossed to see how you intend to actually restructure Nigeria, and also, to be able to square all this that is happening. So if you want to know more about what he says, you can read that on page 39 of this day newspaper. That's all on this day newspaper.
On the Sporting Sun newspaper, Algeria 2, Nigeria 1. The Foxes cage Super Eagles again. Lukaku still in doubt for next league outing. You can read that on page 2. And on the left side of the paper, Ronaldo leaves transfer request again. Kante returns to full training. Chelsea names prize for Pulisic. You can read that on page 5. France fans slam Giroud for partying. You can read that story on page 3. And on the right side of the paper, Messi may leave PSG in 2023. Atletico Madrid plotting January move for Piqué. And that will be a sad one for Barcelona because they've had Piqué for so long, and for him to move to a rival club, I don't know how that will play out, but we will watch and see. Still on the Sporting Sun, outgoing NFF board destroyed Nigeria football. This is coming from Lapido, and you can read that on page 3. And the big story, Mikel quits football. Thanks fans for 20 years of loyalty. And we will also say thank you to you, Mikel, because you've also put Nigeria on the map, and you have done well for us. And every club that I've had a pleasure of having
this call. Sorry, Richard. Hello, Mr. Enoch. Hello, Mr. Enoch. Are you there? Please go on with your contribution. Okay, maybe I'll have to end that call, and I hope you call us before we end the show today. And Richard, you're still on the spot, vibrating and so excited about the sport.
Just about Mikel, we want to also say thank you to him as Nigerians because he played well for us, and when he was there, we could boast that Nigeria did well football-wise, and every club he was, Chelsea, you could also celebrate him the same way we are celebrating him as Nigerians because he made us proud. Still on the Sporting Sun, extent of the injury revealed, and then you can find that story on page 5. Holyfield glows from airbite. Fight with Tyson sold for $38,704, and you can find that story on page 8, and that's all the sport news on Sporting Sun.
All right, let's take a look at an international paper, The Times. And we have Work It, the new office dress code. And we have Growing Up Online, what it does to teens. And we have House Prices warning as loan rate raise sharply. Analyst says property value may fall by 15%. So we can see that the interest rate is not just in Nigeria. But we have a caller. Hello, Mazi from Taraba. Good morning.
Hello, thank you for your program. It's very educative. I'm still on this article promising a boost. President for 2031. Is he sure of making it this time around? They are still going on there, but then the better thing to do is to calm the agitation. Let him down to their turn and give it to PTOB. Let them support them. Let all these problems in Nigeria stop. Igbos are being used and dumped. So it's enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mazi, for that contribution. And we hope Nigerians are listening. And we know the person we actually want to rule Nigeria. So the ball is in our court. You have the yam, you have the knife. Whatever you choose to do is left to you. So I hope we'll make the right decision. We're still on The Times. We have house price warning as loan rate rise sharply. Analysts say property value may fall by 15%. Russia accused of sabotaging gas pipes, so you can read more of that. And in the news, we have Stay Stronger Older made chief promise, collaboration claims beat Suit City and Migrate defending. So you can grab The Times and read any of that paper that is of interest to you. Hello, Tony from Abia. Good morning. Tony, please go on. Move away from your TV set. All right, Tony, if you can call us, we really appreciate it. And that's all on the Times newspaper, Rachel.
On the Sweet Crude newspaper, Nigerian government confiscate 20 million liters of illegally refined crude oil. You can continue reading that on page 2. And the big story on the Sweet Crude, inefficiency, corruption cost Nigerian port 600 billion naira annually. This is coming from the LCCI, and there's a picture story of the Nigerian Port Authority.
All right, sorry, Rachel, let's take this call from Daniel. Good morning, Daniel.
All right, from Daniel. Hey, good morning. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you, Daniel. Please move away from your TV set.
Hello?
We can hear you. Go on, please move away from your TV set.
Yeah, okay, I've done that.
Okay, please go on.
Yeah, I want to talk more about the election, the forthcoming election that is coming.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, go on. We can hear you.
Okay. One thing I want people to understand is it's not about the person that's been there doing the waves and everything. It's about the person who's going to work and so who's going to rescue Nigerians from this number. And I want to call on to you because we are the one that's actually receiving it at the end of the day. So I think everyone should go for, if you know the person that you want to vote, someone that is capable, someone that is willing, someone that has the IQ to take us to this destination that we want to be. It's not about party or anything. So and I'm calling. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Daniel, for that contribution. That's an advice to the youth out there to actually come out in their numbers and vote the right people into office because we really need a change in Nigeria. Let's go on with the Sweet Crook paper.
NSCDC parades 5 suspect over 24,000 liters of crude oil. And on the left side of the paper, Cameroon and oil traders vital reach agreement over refinery debt restructure.
Okay, let's take this call. Sorry. Hello, Civic. Good morning. Hello, Stephen. Are you there? Please go on.
On the general election next
Okay.
year. We are tired. We are tired of old men whose senses are already weakened, are gone. But we need youth to be there. They said the youth to be there. They have been crying of youth. Even them at Tiku address, they say you should come. Now the youth we have is Tito. That guy, when he was the governor, he speak well. So we don't need old men that has no memory, that has lost memory. So that is why today we don't have a government. So we need people to be. I have advised some of my youth who are within my environment to get their PVC and vote for OB. And let's see next year in Nigeria. God will help us in Jesus' name.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Even though we're not doing a campaign for any party, but whoever your candidate is, you have the right to go out there to the polls and actually vote for that person. So the ball is in your court. I keep saying it. Do what you feel is right for Nigeria at the end of the day. Let's go on with the paper, please, Rachel.
And that's all the news.
Well, you know, looking at the stories on this page, I'm just so happy looking at the fact that Nigerian government, they're able to actually, they've paraded some 5 suspects that were involved in all of that. And we're hoping to see more because the money we've actually lost as a result of oil theft, we can't really recount it. Millions and billions of nairas and dollars have been lost as a result of that. So I'm really happy looking at the fact that more, you know, government officials are beginning to, you know, actually realize. Okay. Well, I think we lost that color, but then still looking at the oil, the issue of oil theft, it has been a major issue in Nigeria. Looking at the numbers of, you know, crude oil we've lost, the back and forth coming from the customer and even the NMPC saying the number of oil we produce on a daily basis, and we are not even able to meet up with OPEC, you know, demands. Each quarter we are supposed to produce, we are not able to meet up, and that has even related to inflation. Our naira has devalued, and lots of things have, you know, resulted as a resulted as a result of that. So I just hope that with all of this we'll keep recording more, and then we'll hope to see what is now the next step that is the, you know, the Nigerian army or the force will take, because for people that are involved in it, there should be a punishment attached to that. So we just don't want it to end on the papers, but we hope that something will be done to follow up that, so that whoever is planning to trade on that same part will know that he or she will not be left alone. So we're really happy for such reports coming up. Well, thank you, Rachel, for doing this with me, and thank you to our callers. Thank you to the crew members and everyone that made this program a success. Do have a blessed day ahead.